Good evening, everybody. Welcome. It's January 11th. You are joining us today for Career Prep, your ticket to career success during and after college, presented by Management Leadership for Tomorrow in partnership with the Northern California College Promise Coalition. And it's my pleasure to introduce you to good friend James Colten. He's the Director of Career Prep Fellow Recruitment and Admissions at Management Leadership for Tomorrow. And he's here to walk us through the program, the application, what you can expect before and after. And we really hope that you plan to submit your application. Round 2 deadline is this Friday, January 15th. All right, and with that, I'll turn it over to you, Jim.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. I'm really excited to be presenting about MLT and our career prep program to NCCPC and all of the related associations and schools and organizations and students. Let me share my screen here. All right, so what I'm going to talk about tonight are, so who is MLT? What's our approach to making an impact? Go over our career prep program, and then finally answer some frequently asked questions at the end of the presentation. So who is MLT? MLT, we're a national nonprofit based in the DC area. We're also a racial equity organization working on influencing the leadership pipeline for Black, Latinx, and Native American business professionals as they work towards senior leadership. We have over 15 years, probably close to 20 years now, of developing a comprehensive approach to helping fellows achieve success. We have over 8,000 alumni now, which we consider rising leaders, and over 100 corporate partners, a lot of them Fortune 500 companies, other blue chip employers. But before we go further, I want to do a quick land acknowledgement, understanding that there's a lot of pain in this country. That's I'm in DC, so we hear this or seeing. I guess what we'd say is a lot of folks inaccurately diagnosing the problem. MLT's headquarters sits on Piscataway and Anacostan people's land, which was stolen years ago. We also recognize that there's a long history of racism and segregation that has contributed to a lot of the issues that we see now, including education inequality, fair housing and homelessness, climate change, environmental justice, and we could sit here all night listing things. But we do envision a world where everyone has opportunity and no group is no longer underrepresented. I think when we talk about the problem facing college students now is that over 450,000 minorities graduate from college every year, but over about 60% are either underemployed or unemployed. And underemployed means that they have a job that might not require a college degree. All the while, about 3% of senior executives in corporate America are either Black or Latinx. There's a saying that, talent is equally distributed, but opportunity is not. And so we're going to talk about how are we leveling the playing field and distributing opportunity more equally. And it starts with addressing economic mobility and wealth gaps. We're trying to also develop better and more equitable employer practices. This will move the needle on some of these underlying inequalities you see, like economic mobility, wealth gaps, social capital, and education. This week's weekend or recently in DC has shown why we still need to change the narrative on race among white people, and then also make meaningful improvement on issues above water. So MLT's approach really spans everywhere from college through late career. We're partners with NCCPC because when we think about all the students who are in college, that this is one of the best entry points into this leadership pipeline. Our career prep program serves 1,000 students per year and growing now. We also have MBA programs, so helping individuals get into top MBA programs. These are indicators of other successes related to career advancement, so getting higher and higher level jobs closer to the C-suite, ultimately helping fellows reach some of these senior level positions in their companies. We also, down here, you see an employer playbook. We have an advisory services program, which is fairly new, but what we're doing through advisory services is helping companies move beyond random acts of diversity. Ultimately, we need to help companies think about diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice as more than just a quota, and actually a comprehensive approach to helping them meet their bottom line better. As I mentioned, we have over 100 corporate partners, and you can see many of them here. They're across many different industries, from finance, consulting, tech, CPG, retail, etc. A lot of these companies have been partners with us for a while, and some of them are new. And our partnerships team is always trying to bring on the best partners to support MLT's mission. When it comes to our impact, speaking about our college students specifically, 95% of them are able to secure an internship between junior and senior year. And then 90% of them get on to what we would call high trajectory jobs. You can see the mean salary of them is $75K, which has a huge, can have a huge impact on families from low income or first gen backgrounds. And then finally, talking about MLT's impact with our rising leaders, you can see what some of them have been up to this summer. And so this is just our alumni team pulls together alumni highlights. And this was I think a series of 4 weeks this summer where we were featuring 4 different alumni. And we still feature alumni who are getting promoted, who are leading initiatives, and yeah, they're really awesome rising leaders. Next, I'm going to talk about our career prep program. And so before we go into our, what this is I'll share a little anecdote about when I was, I think, trying out for the basketball team. I think it was 7th grade. And I remember trying out, I was out there practicing, in my neighbor's backyard. They had like a little, basketball hoop set up. And I would go out and practice for an hour or two. And then, try out for the 7th grade basketball team, which is, not really, a huge deal. And I remember getting cut, and what the coach said, I don't remember the coach's name, but he said that you can't teach height. So being one of the shorter kids, I was excluded just because of, how tall I was, and some other kids. So, so the career prep program kind of revolves around this idea of there's sometimes unwritten rules that can keep folks out of certain careers. And so our playbook kind of starts with personal clarity. So, just like I shared with basketball, it didn't matter, actually, there were things I probably could have done. I could have been working on my left-handed layups. There were probably other things that, would have helped me make the team that I just didn't know what they were. And so personal clarity kind of starts from a place of, if you're trying to go or have a career doing X, Y, or Z, here are some of the things that you need to be working on now so that you can be successful, right? Personal clarity is also about understanding what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses from a future job standpoint. What are some of the characteristics of a job that will resonate? Do you want to travel a lot? Do you not want to travel? Are you really good with numbers? Are you more of a creative type? Taking all of these factors together and figuring out, okay, so you say you want to work in tech or you want to work in consulting. Well, let's try to narrow that down a bit. Or you could be one of those students who say, I don't really know what I want to do. And we still have of ways of narrowing that down. The second part of the playbook is around knowing the bar. So understanding what is the standard you need to hit at every stage to be successful. And beyond that, what is the bar you need to hit in order to display excellence, right? This happens at the time when you submit your job application with your resume and cover letter, when you are in an interview, or once you're hired on the job and need to negotiate an offer. Once you're on the job, what does success look like? When you first start, within your first 90 days at the year mark, what are the competencies that you need to show in order to get promoted. And so this is what our coaches are working with, is helping fellows understand what is the bar that they need to hit to be considered excellent. And finally is we're working with fellows to build a roadmap to exceed the bar. So regardless of function or industry, there are things that students can be doing now to build out their roadmap, build out their action list, so that they, once they are in those situations where they have to interview or where they have to perform, they're doing so in a way that displays excellence. This is supported through one-on-one coaching. All of our coaches have a lot of industry experience, so coaching fellows into finance or consulting or CPG or marketing, you know, there's a whole range, and they understand what it means to be excellent in those fields. And it's also supported by our network. So I mentioned earlier, we have 8,000 rising leaders in our pipeline. Many of them are extremely willing to do informational interviews, offer some support. So if you're trying to network into, let's say, Target, we have a lot of fellows who work at Target, so you can pretty much go connect with one of them on LinkedIn and say, hey, I'm interested in this role at Target. Can you tell me a little bit about what it's like to work there? Or, you know, come up with your the questions that make sense for what you're most interested in. The playbook has a lot of success. Fellows are 12 times more likely to receive an offer before they graduate than sort of the national college average. They're 10 times more likely to intern with an employer of choice. And then they're 3 times more likely to have a professional internship that's related to their post-college career path. Talking really briefly about our program commitments. So they're monthly assignments, and the monthly assignments are related to the playbook I mentioned earlier. They're related to getting career clarity early on, knowing the bar for what they decide they're going to do, and then building out a roadmap and working on that roadmap and some of those action steps in order to exceed the bar. With event participation, you see in the bottom left, we have 3 mandatory seminars, and then there are several boot camp options, and there's probably more than that this year, but boot camps are going to be held virtually in the spring, and then health situation willing, we'll have kickoff at Deloitte University in Texas. MLT covers flights and transportation and, you know, food and lodging to and from seminars, so that's not anything you need to worry about. And then boot camps, you just need to have computer and internet access so you can tune in and ask questions and participate. As part of the, I guess, curriculum, you have to apply to 2 partners. Hopefully this isn't a huge chore, because we have a lot of great partners that are the top companies in their fields. Our partners subsidize the work MLT does, and so you're not required to take an internship or take a job with a partner, but you just have to be available to interview with some of these companies to get the benefit of the program experience. And then finally, with survey completion, we're a data-driven organization. I love data. I could spend the whole day looking at spreadsheets, but we wear many hats in the nonprofit sector. So, but we do rely on data from fellows to make the program the best it can be. Here you see at the bottom, you see that there's, you know, an infraction system. And so we do make sure fellows are being held to a high standard, that they're continuing to be excellent, that they're in contact with their coaches. And so, you know, there are things like, you know, missing or being unexcused for having an unexcused absence from a seminar, or, you know, turning in too many assignments late could earn you infractions. And so we just want to make sure that, you know, when you're going through career prep, that you're doing all the steps correctly, and because this is all related to the playbook. On the program timeline, so the program starts for this upcoming cycle in the spring, and our second application deadline is on Friday, the 15th. We're going to do onboarding throughout from now until about April. Around 2 applicants will hear back from us probably in March with their decisions, and then we'll turn them around fairly quickly. Just mentioned boot camps, but as we move throughout the, I guess, fall of junior year for most fellows, they're going to be getting into some of the interview and analytical skills preparation, working on skill development, and ultimately starting preparation for their full-time internship between junior and senior year. During that internship, The focus is related to on-the-job performance management. So making sure that they're being excellent, they're showing all the competencies that the employers want to see, and that if they want, they can convert that internship offer into a full-time offer. What does the class profile look like? So 40% of our fellows, I would say, are kind of fall into this business category. So finance, marketing, supply chain, info systems, et cetera. Another 40% fall into STEM, so computer science, software engineering. We have industrial engineering, bioengineering, computer engineering majors as well. And then 20%, the last fifth of the class, falls into this other category. So this could really be anything. We've had anthropology majors, we have economics majors, psychology majors, political science majors. The goal is that these folks just want to kind of work in a corporate setting after graduation. And kind of, I don't want to say throughout the GPA range for this year, we know COVID's had kind of an impact on what classes can be taken for credit or which classes are being taken pass fail. And so we have a little bit of a looser GPA threshold this year. So even if you're starting below a 3.0, you know, still want to just see your GPA on an upward trajectory, and you should be fine. And then lastly, the most exciting part of this for me is that we get to admit a class of about 1,000 this year. So we're doubling the class size, which means that we're going to have a lot of students from all these universities and more. Our career prep program is diverse geographically, and then also by institution type. So we have a lot of the top private schools, state schools, HBCUs, MSIs, a lot of schools in the Bay as well. And so even if you don't see your school up here, I hope that we can get it up. This is, again, just a sample, but yeah, it's a great group, and you'll get to network with students from all across the country as well. So for this cycle, so for Career Prep 2023, I'm going to talk about some of the eligibility requirements. So first is that students should have a general interest in business or technology. The curriculum, you know, I don't know if I can, you know, name all of the, like, you know, micro industries that we've helped students get in, but largely, you know, if you're interested in working in a kind of business setting after graduation, then this is the right opportunity. We also want fellows who are willing to be coached. So coaching is a huge part of the program. Getting feedback and acting on feedback is extremely important. Next is, for the same reasons that MLT exists, career prep fellows must be Black, Hispanic, and Indigenous or Native American, and then have a graduation timeline of December 2022 to spring, summer 2023. The next class for CP 2024, which we'll start recruiting for probably in June or July, the graduation timeline would be December 2023 to spring or summer 2024. Let's go over what we look for in admissions quickly. So the career prep application consists of 4 pieces. There's an application form, a resume, a recommendation, and a transcript. Application form is pretty straightforward. It's just, you know, kind of filling out your information. Resume and transcript. The resume doesn't need to be super polished. You know, you can submit whatever resume you have. We have resume editors on our end that will work with students on, you know, polishing up before they go in front of partners. And then the transcript can be official or unofficial. For the recommendation, this can be from a professor, a manager, an academic advisor, another kind of adult in your community. It could be someone from your College Promise organization as well. That would work as well. After we receive these materials, we select candidates to be finalists. So finalists will complete a video response and then a partner rating questionnaire. Video response is just you talking on camera. It doesn't need to be polished, or, you know, you should try to, you know, present well, but there's no video editing required. And then the partner rating questionnaire is sort of a first point in time indicator of, you know, what kind of companies are you interested in? Which ones do you know? Which ones do you not know? During the review process then, so once we have all of these materials, we're looking for smart skills, scrappy skills, and savvy skills, and understanding that a lot of these things are still coachable. But under smart skills, we're looking for achievement orientation, looking for evidence of analytical and critical thinking in your application. with scrappy skills, so this is related to one of our core values of scrappiness, which is related to doing everything you can to achieve the best results for everyone involved, no matter how difficult. So it has this element of grit and perseverance, but it's also a community element as well, of being resourceful, not just for yourself, but for others. And then finally, with savvy skills, this is related to your relationship management. So we're looking for evidence of communication and teamwork, and also leadership impact. Now, to talk about deadlines, I mentioned that our second deadline is November 15th. Sorry, January 15th here. If anyone has technical issues or hears about us late, would still encourage you to reach out, email us, put our contact information up here. Leslie Moreno is our, working specifically with Bay Area students. So we encourage you to reach out to her. You can reach out. I can probably put my email on here if I annotate it. Maybe not. But yeah, definitely reach out to Mare, and she'd be happy to pass along my email as well. Mare, how about we go into kind of some frequently asked questions next?
That's great, James.
Oh, you're on mute.
Yep. All right. So first question, and it's exciting to see how much is already in the queue working virtually, and that there's already some plans for what if travels starts to be permitted. For those possible travel opportunities, glad to know it'd be financially covered, but if the student wanted to waive out of that, would there be like a hybrid opportunity made available, or would it be required to attend in person?
No, we would have hybrid opportunities. That's sort of, I think, one of the, well, how we had the program before was that we would work with students who are studying abroad to still go through the program. It's not always feasible to fly back from France or China or Argentina or wherever someone is studying abroad. And so we'll still work with them to make sure that they're still getting the benefit of the program, that they're still able to complete curriculum pieces, and still get to interview with partners. It would be virtually.
All right, very cool. Thank you. No, that answers the question. So really exciting to see that whole map of all of the different campuses. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned that wasn't an inclusive list. Do you have a sense of the different colleges you're working with here in the Bay Area, like Cal State East Bay, UC Berkeley, UC Davis, San Jose State? Any of those you could name for us? Yeah,
sure. So certainly all the CSU schools that are based in the Bay Area, so San Francisco State, San Jose State, Cal State East Bay. I know we've also had students from Sonoma State as well. For some of the, I guess, the public universities in the area, obviously we work with UC Berkeley. And then I know we also have students who are, from the Bay, but might attend schools like UC Davis, UC Santa Cruz as well. And for private universities, we work with, or we've had students from Stanford, Santa Clara, University of San Francisco, and then I'm probably forgetting a few, but
well, maybe I can.
And then I even think about Mills College, Evergreen Valley College, and for community college students, the idea is that they're still telling us where they're going to transfer, but we've accepted a lot of students who are who are at their first or second school in their post-secondary career. So it's completely fine for our purposes.
Super helpful, James. Do you know if you have students at University of the Pacific?
That's a great question. I don't think we've had any, but would love some.
Yeah, okay, great. Good to know.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Can you remind me, and I'm not sure if you covered this already, if DACA students are eligible, and if participant eligibility means they applied for it and received a positive decision, or did they just have to apply?
DACA students are eligible. So yeah, we've been following kind of the court situation, since it was put into limbo by the current administration. But we have, I know folks who are immigration lawyers, and so if folks are having trouble applying or trying to figure out like if they should apply for DACA, we can also help put them in touch if they don't have anyone to talk to.
That's fantastic. I didn't know that, James. Super helpful for you to share that. What is the type of proof that DACA eligible students would have to offer?
Yeah, so for anyone who's completing the application, there's a section where it asks for residency status. And so for permanent residents or DACA students, it would just be uploading a copy of a green card or your EAD, which is employment authorization document. And if someone's, I guess, residency status falls outside of that, but they still have full work authorization, it should be okay. Just have them email us. I think the groups that cannot apply are really student visa holders. So those who are here just temporarily. And it's kind of related to the curriculum, and our curriculum doesn't necessarily address some of the the extra barriers faced by student visa holders.
Thoughtfulness is appreciated. For students who might be interested, I think it's still, maybe computer science, or maybe they're interested in finance, or does a student have to land on specifically what? Like, how does MLT figure out which kind of coach that they should get if they're really interested in a lot of different things?
Yeah, let me come over here to the core partner slide. So I think the beauty of the program is that we're trying to do a better job of not boxing in students too soon. Understanding that some students come in and they know, I want to be an investment banker on Wall Street. They know it, and they know what they want to do, and they're pursuing that all the way. They're involved in the finance clubs on campus or an investment club, and they've already done some externship type things with some companies. And they could be full steam ahead. And then there's someone else who comes in the program who has a strong, they've done well in their finance classes, but they don't understand what investment banking is. And so both students could land jobs on Wall Street that way. But the idea is that a lot of the early curriculum around career clarity will help students figure out what's kind of the right path to go. So think of it, I'll use a sports analogy, but if someone shows up at college and wants to be a student athlete, but they don't know what sport they want to do, the first thing they should probably do is start to narrow down what are the sports that I would be good at, right? If someone wants to show up and they want to do, I don't know, basketball and track and field and volleyball and soccer all at the same time, there could be things that would prevent them from doing all those things at the same time. And so what we're trying to do is not say that you can't do, maybe you're interested in tech and consulting and CPG or supply chain. And, that's not to say that any of these are bad industries or they might not be a good fit, but to help narrow down, it is, we have some assessments that we use that will help you figure out what kind of career type would you benefit from, and have fellows do reflection exercises. And ultimately what you could decide is a type of function or a type of industry that you're going to pursue early on. But maybe say like, well, I'm going to pursue consulting now, but Google is still my dream company, or Deloitte is still my dream company. But even if I don't get that company now, I'm playing the long game, right? I think that's something that we take for granted a lot, is that when we're here at MLT, we can see the whole pipeline. We can see where someone started their career and in what senior leadership that person is in now. But for a college student, for a lot of college students, it's usually about, well, what classes am I going to take? What I need a job. There are a lot of short-term decisions that are still very important decisions. But it's easy to kind of lose sight of what MLT's end goal is. All of our coaches can talk about the students who, they started in IB and then they went and did something else. They started their own company, they're entrepreneurs. They they went from investment banking or finance into an MBA program. Then after that MBA program, then they went into impact investing or they went into consulting. And, we have, a ton of data on where fellows have been successful and, how fellows make transitions. Our alumni team is, they're rolling out amazing products all the time. And, being able to offer coaching services throughout this whole continuum so that you don't have to be in a program after you graduate in order to receive coaching services through MLT. So there are really a ton of opportunities to, to get to where you need to be.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things I appreciate the most about your approach and your model. It meets students where they are, but like that idea of career clarity too often follows the degree or comes after the degree.
Right.
And students get mismatched so many times. As opposed to, to this day, educators still have to kind of make it clear for students it's okay to switch majors. Just the intentionality with which that you're doing that, and that career clarity piece that you're mentioning is kind of like the activating of that decision. But I really appreciate that thoughtfulness. And you actually brought up something around entrepreneurship that transitions well to my next question, which is what if the student wants to be an entrepreneur and that's what they're thinking about when they say business? Like, is this still a good program for them since it's not, being an entrepreneur wasn't in the probably not right for me?
Yeah. Well, and actually it's funny you mentioned that because we have Danielle here is an entrepreneur. We have other folks who are, some of the a couple of the guys at Harlem Capital, VC firm, met I think through our MBA prep program. We have someone I knew in school, Chaz Shelton. He has a I guess a farm in Tucson, sustainable agriculture startup. But yeah, we know a lot of entrepreneurs. We're trying to raise we have, I wonder if we have this deck in our slide here. No, I don't think so. But MLT is a new partner of Greylock. And so we're a part of a VC firm that's helping Black and Brown founders. So that's a really great kind of opportunity for fellows to get funding for their startups. But because it's a whole other webinar that we could talk about for inequities and startup funding. So
that might be a worthwhile webinar to set up.
Yeah, but we have an alternative. Actually, well, if you go to our website, so so we would go over here to private equity programming, and so there's I would say this is again something for students that once they graduate from college, they could start participating in this and getting access to some of the coaching related to getting into the private equity industry as well. You can see
that is super helpful, and that just speaks to yet another value add of being in the program. Like a lot of our members really understand, because they have in their model too this idea of like, you're in a family for life. You keep getting these alumni benefits, and yours really are at that crux because that ability to transition careers or level up in your careers is an ongoing kind of target, and you stick with folks through that, which is awesome. I guess last question, and then want to see if there's anything else you'd want to maybe share that you didn't get a chance to share in the deck that you think would be really helpful before we close out. Is there a GPA breakdown? We saw the average GPA being kind of 3.4, 3.5, and we know that there's a minimum, but is that the same per track? Is there, consideration for students in comp sci, majors who have maybe lower GPAs versus business majors with a higher GPA? Just thoughts on that.
Yeah, we definitely look at GPAs by, as it breaks down by, major in school, but I think we're also considering, what are the other parts of your profile, because the GPA is only one kind of indicator. And it's, in the same way that business schools might brag about denying an 800 GMAT, we've denied 4.0 GPAs, or we've waitlisted 4.0 GPAs because they weren't showing evidence of the other competencies that they wanted to show by this point. So it really is, if someone has, the advice I would have for if someone is, between let's say a 2.5 and a 3.0, is first talk about what are you doing to raise your GPA. Are you going to tutoring? Are you going to professor office hours? Thinking about, are you leveraging all the campus resources you have available to get your GPA to a place where it will be competitive for some of these opportunities after you graduate. Unfortunately, for our corporate partners, some of them have harder GPA lines than we do. And so we're trying to make sure that fellows get into a place where they'll be looked at for some of these really high fast track opportunities, I should say. And then top business schools as well, is that a low GPA could keep you out of some of these top MBA programs, unless you can somehow also get, a super high GMAT in the process. So trying to make sure that for, early career employment opportunities and then graduate school that, you're in a place where you can, still be kind of looked at as the best candidates coming in. The next thing to address when it comes to the career prep application is to also highlight leadership and community involvement, understanding that, we're looking at applications holistically. And so if your GPA is not where it needs to be, maybe highlight your work experience or community involvement or leadership on campus as a way of saying well, this is what I've been up to.
That is super, super helpful. And the very last question, actually, since it seems like students probably have a lot of opportunity to virtually network, will students have a chance to network across the region? Like ours, for example, students are across the 9 Bay Area counties. Do you have kind of regional, NorCal or SoCal convenings or things like that students can look forward to?
Yeah, our alumni team, we have regional alumni chapters. So there's a chapter in LA and in the Bay Area. And those alumni chapters usually host quarterly events, which career prep fellows are very welcome to participate in. I've attended some of the alumni gatherings in the DC area, and it's usually hosted by a corporate partner or at a restaurant or bar downtown. So yeah, it's fun seeing a lot of familiar faces.
But without restaurants and bars for that, are y'all doing Zoom in, or are they still doing that then and just have?
Yeah, they would still do virtual gatherings. And actually, we go back to the website, you can see alumni resources, and I don't know if this is, we don't have our 2020 annual highlights yet, but I wonder if I can find, let's see here. Oh, you can see, this is just a quick slideshow of what some of our alumni are doing, but, oh yeah, so our alumni chairs are in charge of regions. So you can see here the group who are leading our different alumni chapters for the calendar year 2019. And, talking about regional events and activities. Again, 2019 was an in-person year, but even though, even though we were virtual this year, I know we were still able to do some of these things. I think we were still able to do, I know the DC chapter still did some fitness and wellness and health things where they'd meet up, mask up in person and do workouts in the park. And then also talking about entrepreneurship as well. I definitely know we had some virtual Zoom calls related to getting into kind of the startup world, launching a company, launching a brand, and so on. So, yeah.
Well, those were all of the top of mind questions. I also super appreciate you navigating the website for us to see so we can figure out how to get the different information. Did you show us where we can find your partners?
I did not, but we can.
Because I thought you had 100 at one point, but now you have 150. So I can't keep track.
All right. So sorry, for our partners. You come up here to MLT and click on our partners. You can scroll through all of the corporate and social sector partners we have, the graduate business schools that for at least MBA prep that we are with, and then foundations as well who are supporting MLT's success. So.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing us just your vast ecosystem and everything you've accomplished as a nonprofit, and also what you're doing here in the Bay Area. We appreciate it, James, and MLT. Any final thoughts or calls to action before we close out?
Yeah, I think one of the refrains I hear a lot from our later career fellows, so the ones who are joining us maybe for MBA prep or PD, is that they wish they had career prep when they were in college. And it's, I don't know if I can emphasize enough how accelerating of an opportunity this can be if you're willing to put in the work. It's sort of the hard work doesn't equal success on its own, but you take hard work plus an organization like MLT, and you're going to go places. So yeah, I can't recommend it highly enough.
Thank you so much again, James. And a +1 for me, because one of my own students actually went through your MLT prep program and had a lot of success out of that. So thank you for all of the work that you've done and all that MLT is doing. And thank you for expanding your footprint here in the Bay Area. With that, we'll leave you all to the rest of your evening. Thanks again, James.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good evening.